coming back to you guys. I want to introduce to the stage, you know this guy, producer of the film, also scored it, Tom DeLonge. Will Eubank, director, writer, and the star, the lonely man up in the shuttle, Gunnar Wright. So welcome you guys. Now, I do have thousands of questions. I've pared them down. I picked the good ones off of Facebook for you guys. So let's just start it off right now. This first question is for Tom, from Lucas. Say hi to Lucas.
Lucas, hello.
Hey, Lucas.
This is live. There's cameras here looking at us, and this is actually going out
Great.
to a lot of people.
Well,
Bear with me for a second.
Tom.
Yes.
What sparked the idea to make a film powered by your music?
There's probably a few people watching this right now that aren't really sure what Angels and Airwaves really is. And the best way to describe it is as a super ambitious art project where it's not just a band, but it's kind of, you know, a collection of artists where we take these giant themes about humanity and we try to communicate them on different mediums. And this is our first attempt at that, where we wanted to take the word love and dissect its meaning and talk about human consciousness and connection. And we knew that we had to do that with film. We knew we had to go bigger than the music itself. And luckily we found Will here, and we were able to tackle that big of an idea.
You found me. I don't know if you were lucky, but you did find me.
Well, Will, I actually have a question for you from Addison. Addison read online that you built the space station for this movie. He wants to know, where did you learn to build space stations?
I want to know that too, to be honest.
It was more like by attrition. We started, like Mark Eaton, who's out here somewhere, we started, I just remember we started, the Dodgers were in the postseason one year, and by the time we finished, they were already out of next season's postseason. So it was a really long process. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it was learning as we went along. I didn't even know what a nail gun was when we started, but by the end, I have like 9. I have like Brad nailers.
This is a perfect time for me to jump in and say to all the people watching this movie, no one, I think there's very few people that believe not only could we even make a film, but would even give us any help doing it. And we had no money, and none. I mean, we had 1/10 of the budget of the cheapest films anybody in these audience ever see. Will, he built that entire space station. That's almost the totality of the movie in his parents' driveway. The Civil War that you saw in the beginning, he built in his parents' backyard. And at any given time, there was no more...
It's a ranch. It's a big backyard.
It's a ranch. It's a big backyard. But at any given time, you had no more than 3 people helping you.
Oh, no, it was great.
Me, you, me.
Yeah,
We're okay with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, not me.
No. My little brother, Winchester, who's like a junior in high school, would come home from school, and sometimes he'd bring a friend or something, and we would cut tiles. Like, there's so many tiles in that ship, I don't even want to remember it, but we would just cut these tiles out of MDF and glue them in, and I mean, it's insane. Like, if you were to go through the whole ship,
the window of the space station is a washing machine window. The bags on the side are pizza bags. The toolboxes are just toolboxes from Home Depot, spray painted white.
it's like spray painted white, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, but I mean, you can't stress that. I can't build anything. But the whole point is I think that, you know, as an artist, you know, like if you really believe in something and you really believe in the potential of communicating what's inside you, so you pull anything off. It took us 5 years, and there's so many Angels and Airwaves fans in the theater right now that know how long it's taken. But when you look at this film and know that only 3 people at a time were making this thing, like from scratch, it's such a big story in itself, you know.
We didn't build it in a soundstage. We just built it in a like you said, in the backyard. So basically, whenever it would rain, I would wake up. Like, at the time, I didn't really have a job, so I'm just at home building this. My dad is thinking I'm going insane. He's building a space station in the back. It's for a rock band. This is just messed up. But I would wake up at like 3 in the morning, and I'd hear a pitter-patter of rain, and I would just be like, oh my God. So I'd go out there and start trying to shove water off the top of the sets, because...
Covered with just tarps.
Just tarps. Tons of tarps.
Gunner's like, what did I sign up for on this thing?
Yeah, I'm just an actor.
So act like it was awesome.
When Will says blood, sweat, and tears went into it, it really did. I actually do have a question for Gunner. These guys mentioned that the movie took about 5 years to make. So, Gunner, this is from Jeremy. Was it difficult to act in a movie that took place over such a long time period?
Well, typically, Thanks, Jeremy. Typically, you shoot a film, maybe 3 months. So yeah, for 4 or 5 years, it was definitely challenging. But the good thing was I didn't have anything to gauge by. This was my first film as a leading man, and to carry a film, we were really exploring together. Will and I, Will as a director, and me as an actor. So we really just played for 4 or 5 years.
I wanted to just reach out there into space and save you and like hang out with you. The loneliness. Well, I have another question now. This is for everybody. The theme of this film seems to be human connection. Do you guys feel that technology promotes a better way to connect with humans, or does technology make the human connection experience worse?
That's an awesome question. That's a deep question. I think that it probably, I don't know. I mean, you guys probably have, I think it's probably both sides.
No, I was just going to say both sides. I mean, there's, when you can reach out and touch somebody that easily through Twitter or through Facebook and all these things, keeping track of everybody, it promotes staying connected, but you lose a lot of physical connection because you're so sort of adjusted to that digital venue.
And I think that goes to say, I mean, with the film, I mean, everything we do with Angels and Airwaves, we're trying to really communicate these large themes. So we're using technology tonight. This is all live. There's 500 theaters, in all these different cities watching this right now. So with technology, we're able to, as artists, kind of speak to the grand idea. But at the same time, yeah, I
Watch
think...
this. Thank you.
Thank you. It's
Thank you. Technology's
Thank you
allowing
for
us
coming
to
and
say
watching our film.
thank you
But,
across the nation.
I mean, but at the same time, I think that, we're sitting in a club here in Boston, okay, and there's only a few people actually in this room with us. And when you hear the music that you just saw, and when they're in here watching the film too, it's so intimate and it's so loud because we've got these giant speakers. To be here physically, it's a whole different thing than to be in the theater where you're at. So once again, I think it's on both sides of the fence. I think you need that immediacy. I think you need that intimate kind of thing. But with technology, we're actually able to spread it further.
Yeah, I think, honestly, and to add to that, it's just like not taking things for granted. It's like back in the day when you had to actually call somebody on a phone that wasn't a cell phone. I think we took that connection, we didn't take it for granted as much as we do now, where it's just like, oh, I can call anybody at any time and reach out to anybody at any time. So
That question was from Patrick, so thank you, Patrick. This next question is for Tom from Stephanie. And I saw you during the creation of this film, and you mostly had mental anguish, less physical than Will over there. What were the toughest choices you had to make during the production of this film?
What a great question. This is the way I work. I try to really hone in on what I'm good at and what I'm really bad at. And I'm really bad at details, and my wife, Jennifer, would tell me that I'm not the most detailed person, but I'm really good at the macro view. I know where I want to go, and I try to be really good at finding light in people. And when I found that within Will, I really saw like this endless potential, but I felt like you were like going 200 miles an hour. I just needed to pave the road in front of you so you can drive on it, I think that the anger, the mental anger wasn't there. I just knew that the hardest times making this film were for me to just say yes, because I knew that in my own heart, I felt that we were assembling this team that we could have made a movie for 10 years, and that would have been kind of cool too. Love was like this 10-year project, and me, I would have kept going. But the hardest part was saying, no, we have to stop. And the one bad thing, which is the greatest thing about your and my relationship, is that Will and I are both massive dreamers. And for the past 5 years, to get to know this guy, I would be on the phone in my house because I couldn't sleep, and I would talk to him on my couch with my cell phone, and we would just start digging into just the idea of why we're here and the reason behind it all and what we want to communicate in this film and in all the films to come. So it could be an explosive combination to have two dreamers. You'll never say no. That's the hardest problem. So we had to put limits on things, and we said, okay, 5 years might be enough,
Slightly insane, but in a great way.
Insanity creates art, so thank you guys for being insane. This question is for Will from Rick. Now, you dealt with a lot of duties that some directors on a film wouldn't have to. director, production designer, director of photography, et cetera, ditch digger, driver, all things. Probably catering too. You probably made yourself peanut butter and jelly sandwiches throughout the production. So, how did you deal with all of these duties and really keep the end view in sight?
Basically, it's a cool question. I basically there was a lot of lonely time, like Zen time, where I was just planning in my head or thinking of things that would inspire me and things that we could really try to get very visceral, and things like that. So a lot of that was alone time of just planning and writing in notebooks and stuff like that. But really, when it came down to shoot days, I had some really close friends like Dan Figure, Lamar Scott, Chase Rudolph, who were just like, these guys were there to just help me figure out how to logistically pull it off. And Mark Eaton is kind of the god of that. I don't know where he is in here, but great people who would come in at the last second and go, okay, well, you've spent this much time thinking about how to shoot this, how to build this, how to, do all these different little, how to paint the sides of the tiles white. Like all these miniature details that I think I'm pretty good at. And then they would come in and help me actually pull it off the last